The story of a young man begins with his difficult life. He takes care of the house and looks after his sick mother all on his own. One night, while he's cooking soup, his mother passes away. After her funeral, he is left completely alone, without parents, but he continues to manage his household duties and strives to learn new skills. While cleaning the house, he finds a book about adventurers, which awakens memories of his father's stories. These tales inspire him to leave his home and become an adventurer. He crosses the protective barrier of his village and, after a long journey through the forest, reaches a huge city. In the city, he heads to an adventurer's shop to join the guild, but he's rejected. The young man explains that he has no parents, and one of the men in the shop tells him that to become an adventurer, he needs to enroll in an academy and undergo training. He tries to enroll in the swordsman's school, but is rejected for being too weak. Then he goes to the warrior school, but there he is also turned away. The young man continues to search for his place, visiting various schools, including the hunter's school, but none of them accept him. Desperate, he returns to his home village and visits his parents' graves. There, with sadness, he admits to himself that he is incapable of achieving anything. But instead of giving up, he decides to become stronger and begins training with renewed determination. He sets up the forest to suit his needs and practices daily. 14 years pass, and now he is able to parry 1,000 swords, yet despite his progress, he hasn't mastered any new skills. Returning to the Adventurers Guild, he once again meets the same man, who this time offers him the chance to become an F-rank adventurer. At this rank, he is forbidden from killing, and he can only take on tasks within the city. Thus begins his journey. The young man named Noor helps people by completing simple tasks and gradually earns the trust of the townsfolk. One day, while at a construction site, Noor hears a cry for help from a cave and rushes to the rescue. He is confronted by a huge opponent, who kills the guards with a single strike. Noor saves a girl by distracting the monster and parrying its attacks. The opponent tries to attack the girl again, but Noor protects her, even when his sword breaks. He uses all his strength and defeats the enemy. The girl thanks him for saving her, but Noor realizes that he still has much more training ahead of him. Despite his victory, he knows that this enemy was merely a weak one, and to become a true adventurer he must grow much stronger. Shortly after the battle, a knight runs up to the rescued girl, apologizing for not being there when she needed protection. A lord, concerned for her safety, requests that she return to the castle. Meanwhile, the king learns that the Minotaur was summoned forcibly as part of a plot to provoke war between nations. An enemy summoner intentionally directed the beast toward the city, hoping to create chaos. Noor returns to the guild, where the guildmaster expresses concern for his well-being. The guildmaster mentions that Noor was lucky not to face the Minotaur directly, unaware that Noor had already fought and defeated it. At that moment, the girl he saved enters the guild, having sought him out to personally thank him for his bravery. She offers Noor any help or reward he desires, but Noor humbly declines her offers. However, the girl insists, urging him to accept at least one favor and proposes that he meet her father. Noor eventually agrees, and she leads him to her home. On the way, Noor notices that the girl lives in a massive estate, clearly belonging to a noble family. As they approach the house, a young man interrupts them, skeptically stating that Noor hardly looks like a hero. Despite this, they continue their way. Meanwhile, the king discusses with his advisors the threat posed by another king. At that moment, a young woman named Lin brings Noor before the king. Noor apologizes to the king for his lack of knowledge about court etiquette, but the king is not offended. Instead, he offers his gratitude. Noor modestly refuses any reward, but the king insists and presents him with a sword, a priceless family heirloom. The king also asks Noor to help Lin become more independent. However, Noor, always honest, admits that he isn't sure if parents should be too involved in their children's education. At that moment, Inez Harness, the celestial shield of the Clays family, appears, apologizing to Noor for the earlier misunderstanding and scolding him for his lack of decorum in front of the king. Later, the same young man who had doubted Noor's strength approaches him again, this time challenging him to prove what Noor is truly capable of. Noor heads to a sparring match with a young man named Gilbert. As their duel begins, Noor quickly notices that Gilbert dodges all his attacks effortlessly. However, Noor soon realizes that Gilbert is holding back and not fighting at full strength. Frustrated, Noor asks him to stop going easy and take the fight seriously. Gilbert dodges his next strike with ease, further deepening Noor's doubts. At that moment, Gilbert recalls his past, how he relentlessly trained to become stronger, constantly challenging himself and others. He fought demons and dueled anyone stronger than him. His teacher once told him that sooner or later someone would surpass him, but Gilbert refused to believe it. Yet now, facing Noor, he feels a flicker of uncertainty. Noor decides to admit defeat, putting Gilbert in an awkward position. Gilbert feels uncomfortable, knowing that he didn't give his all. Meanwhile, Noor assumes Gilbert didn't take the match seriously. Later, Noor begins using the sword given to him by the king for simple tasks, like cleaning out sewers. He contemplates his abilities, doubting his potential and wondering how the sword could be of real use in his life. At this time, Lin, the girl Noor saved, comes to him. She asks to become his assistant, but Noor refuses. In response, Lin shows off her impressive skills: Hellfire Burst, Misty Blade, and Divine Strike, hoping that Noor will see her as a worthy partner. Despite her demonstration, Noor still refuses and decides to show her his own abilities, as well as explain why he doesn't want her help. After their conversation, Lin walks through the city, reflecting on Noor. Her thoughts drift back to a story a wizard once told her, that even a small flame can grow into a great fire. Gradually, she realizes that Noor truly possesses immense strength. He just hasn't fully recognized his potential yet. Determined that Noor only needs support, Lin decides to follow him until he acknowledges her as his partner. The king's son deeply reflects on his father's decision to entrust Noor with the family sword. This sword was forged with great effort and holds not only material value but deep emotional significance for the king. The son realizes that his father did more than just give away a weapon. He expressed immense trust in Noor. This realization fills the son with both respect and caution. Meanwhile, Lin continues to accompany Noor, steadfast in her decision to become his partner. Together, they head to the Adventurers Guild, where Noor plans to take on another simple task. The guild master notices their presence and remarks that if they team up, they could be assigned more serious and profitable missions. Noor apologizes to Lin, feeling that due to her high rank, they are being offered a better job than he deserves. They are assigned a mission to hunt goblins outside the city, and the pair sets off. On the way, Noor asks Lin what she knows about goblins. Lin explains that goblins are usually weak but fast creatures. Despite this, they fail to find any goblins near the city. Suddenly, Lin senses the presence of a large living creature nearby. The air grows tense as they realize this creature may not be a typical foe. Both Noor and Lin prepare themselves for whatever might emerge from the shadows. Lin and Noor engage in battle with the goblin, but quickly realize that it regenerates after every hit. Understanding that they can't defeat it with single attacks, they decide to combine their strengths. Coordinating their efforts, Lin uses her magical abilities while Noor relies on his combat skills. Together, they manage to overpower the goblin, finally destroying it with a powerful fire spell that burns the creature to ashes. Rain reads numerous letters and realizes with growing concern that chaos and unrest are spreading throughout the kingdom. He decides to send his subordinates to different parts of the kingdom to help stabilize the situation, hoping this will restore order. Despite some missing evidence from their previous mission, the guild master still chooses to reward Noor and Lin for their first successful assignment. Recognizing their efforts, Lin, understanding that her time with the guild is coming to an end, prepares to return home, but her brother unexpectedly arrives. He asks Noor to accompany Lin to a mountain town the next day, giving Noor the chance to ride in a carriage for the first time. Noor agrees, though he's unsure why it's necessary. Lin apologizes for involving him, and her brother reveals his plan. In the other town, they are simply expected to wait for further instructions. Meanwhile, Rain speaks with Inez, warning her about a potential catastrophe in the capital. He urgently asks her, if needed, to take Lin and Noor as far away from the city as possible, trusting in her loyalty and strength. Inez reassures him that nothing will happen to Noor, as she possesses the divine shield of light capable of deflecting any attack. She shares the story of her gift, which she discovered after being taken into an orphanage. Her power is so immense that a wizard once told her that, if used correctly, she could destroy an entire country. Realizing the threat her gift posed, Inez began distancing herself from others to avoid harming them. However, as she shares her story, she admits that she envies Noor, as her teacher often mentioned him as an extraordinary individual. During Noor and Lin's journey to the mountain town, they notice notice a thick fog destroying the field around them. Lin uses magic to reveal a creature hidden in the mist. Meanwhile, in the capital, unrest breaks out due to monster attacks. The kings and Rain do everything they can to protect the city, directing their forces to fight the threat. Back in the field where Noor and Lin are, a black death dragon appears, accompanied by a boy who shatters the protective shield. The dragon prepares to attack the boy, but Noor manages to defend him. It is later revealed that the boy is a demon folk, a being capable of controlling demons. Noor tries to protect him but is struck by poison directly in the face. Sensing the danger, Inez prevents Lin from rushing to Noor's aid, shielding her from the poisonous attack. In the thickening fog, Lin and Inez can still see Noor standing, continuing to fight despite barely holding on, struggling with all his remaining strength. In the city, overwhelmed by chaos, children were held in prison and treated like animals. They were fed scraps of food and brutally beaten for the slightest offense, whether it was daring to look the guards in the eyes or speak out of turn. These children were paraded through the streets so the crowd could mock and humiliate them. One boy, Rollo, harbored no ill will toward his tormentors, even though he had every reason to hate them. One day he was given a choice: either be useful to people by killing on command, or remain in his miserable conditions. Broken and desperate, he agreed to kill whoever they ordered, fully prepared to die. But his life changed unexpectedly when he was rescued by Noor. Rather than tend to his own injuries, Noor chose to heal the boy, sacrificing his own well-being. During this act, however, the monster they were fighting infected Noor with a deadly poison. As Noor collapsed, memories from his past flooded back. He recalled a time when he accidentally poisoned himself while cooking, unaware that the food contained toxins. Reflecting on how he had fought through that poisoning, Noor realized that his body had since become accustomed to poisons. Once, after being bitten by a venomous snake, he had managed to recover as well. Over time, Noor began to intentionally train himself, allowing venomous creatures to bite him and consuming toxic substances to build his immunity. With a final surge of strength, Noor rose and re-engaged the monster. Thanks to his experience and resilience, he delivered a fatal blow and claimed victory. After the battle, Rollo admitted to Noor that he had led the monster into the city. Noor, initially confused by the boy's words, listened as Rollo explained further. He possessed an innate ability to control monsters, as he belonged to a demonic bloodline. Instead of condemning the boy, Noor encouraged him, saying that his ability was an incredibly useful gift. He showed Rollo that his power was not a curse, but an opportunity. Lin approached Noor to check his wounds, but to her surprise, she found none. His body had healed, thanks to his immunity to poisons. Noor then asked Lin to take care of Rollo as the boy had nowhere else to go. However, Lin objected, distrustful of Rollo due to his demonic heritage. Rollo, on the other hand, explained that he was completely alone and had no idea where else to turn. Suddenly, a man with a weapon appeared, seemingly under the impression that Rollo was already dead. The air became thick with tension as everyone braced for what might come next. The young man with the weapon who appeared before Noor and Rollo spoke with hatred, accusing the boy of ruining an important shipment. He added that he had come to take Rollo because there was a huge bounty on his head. Without warning, he attacked Noor, but Noor managed to defend himself, parrying the strikes. However, deep down, Noor knew his strength was waning, and he couldn't hold out against this opponent for long. Meanwhile, Inez told Lin about the mysterious man now fighting Noor. She recalled hearing about his past. As a child, this assassin earned the title of Dragon Slayer. He had single-handedly taken down a catastrophe-level monster and even destroyed an entire nation. To reduce the chaos caused by his missions, they declared him dead. Now this man, known as the Dead One, stood before them again, and his power was terrifying. Despite his exhaustion, Noor continued to fight. In the heat of battle, he shattered all of the daggers wielded by the Dead One, but the assassin summoned his most powerful weapon, a blade that conjured a storm of swords, attacking both Noor and Rollo simultaneously. Without hesitation, Noor shielded the boy, sacrificing himself to protect him. But just in time, Inez arrived to help. She used her divine shields to block the onslaught while delivering powerful counterattacks, holding off the Dead One. Even though he was injured, Noor threw demon fangs at the assassin, hoping to disrupt his attacks. Realizing that Noor and Inez were working together as an unbreakable team, the Dead One attempted to strike Inez from behind, but once again, Noor was there, defending her and blocking the attack. Finally, the assassin decided it was time to retreat. He taunted Noor, saying there was a festival happening in the city and that his actions seemed out of place. Recognizing that defeating these two would be no easy task, the dead one disappeared into the shadows. As the tension eased, Rollo realized that Noor and his companions were from the capital. He warned them that returning to the city could be dangerous, but Lin insisted, urging Inez to continue their journey to the city. Noor asked Rollo if he was willing to go with them, and the boy agreed. Meanwhile, Klaus received reports that all the citizens had been successfully evacuated and that the efforts of the Six had not been in vain. However, Klaus sensed that their forces were being worn down intentionally. As he gazed at the sky, he noticed a strange cloud among the others. Using a revealing spell, Klaus was horrified to discover that it was the Calamity Dragon, one of the most dangerous creatures they had ever faced. When Noor was a child, his father often told him stories about the great dragon slayer, and Noor, full of admiration, dreamed of becoming just like him. These memories suddenly resurfaced in his mind when he, alongside Lin, spotted the Calamity Dragon soaring above the city. It turned out that another nation had intentionally awakened this ancient creature from its long slumber to unleash its destructive power. Klaus, seeing the approaching threat, immediately ordered the evacuation of everyone from the city, ensuring that no one was left behind. A loyal spearman pleaded with the king to also leave, but the king refused, declaring that he had unfinished business. He was determined to stay and defend his homeland to the very end. For the first time seeing a dragon in person, Noor felt a mixture of fear and determination. He declared that he was ready to help if Lin could use her magic to speed him up. Meanwhile, the king entered the council chamber and found the leader of another nation waiting for him. This foreign ruler proposed an alliance, suggesting they form an army capable of controlling the entire world. The king, however, refused outright, understanding that such power could never truly be controlled. Looking back, the king realized that breaking off the negotiations had been a mistake. Remembering his daughter Lin, he made a firm decision to fight to the bitter end. Lin and Inez combined their powers to cast a spell that accelerated Noor, giving him the chance to face the dragon. Standing atop a tower, the king engaged in battle with the dragon, which unleashed its devastating flames. The king, pushing himself to the limit, used all of his mana to land a final blow, but the dragon's power was overwhelming. At the crucial moment, Noor, now accelerated by magic, arrived just in time and deflected the dragon's attack. Furious, the dragon turned its attention to Noor and launched a series of strikes, but Noor deftly parried every blow. When the dragon unleashed its powerful fire breath, Noor skillfully redirected it into the sky, displaying incredible strength and mastery. Meanwhile, Inez, Lin, and the boy Rollo returned to the city, where they were ambushed by goblins. Rollo used his magic to halt the goblins' advance, while Inez effortlessly slew them with a single strike, showcasing her unparalleled power. Watching the battle unfold, Rollo realized that the dragon was growing desperate. He explained that the creature understood that Noor did not view it as an equal opponent, and this realization was driving the dragon into panic. Finally, with remarkable agility, Noor severed one of the dragon's claws, which unexpectedly calmed the beast. The dragon, recognizing its defeat, bowed before Noor in a gesture of respect. Noor, showing no further hostility, sat down directly in front of the enormous dragon, signaling that he no longer saw it as a threat. Lin and Inez, astonished by the scene, rushed toward Noor, while from afar, the king watched the entire event, deeply impressed by Noor's courage and strength. Noticing that the dragon had submitted, Noor mistakenly assumed that Rollo was controlling it and asked the boy to send the dragon back home. However, Rollo clarified that the dragon had willingly chosen to obey Noor's command. Without hesitation, Noor ordered the dragon to return to its homeland and never harm humans again. The dragon respectfully nodded and began to ascend, but just as it did, it was suddenly attacked by another king wielding a powerful weapon. A brilliant flash of light erupted in the sky. Meanwhile, in a rival nation's council chamber, the king's son pleaded with his father not to attack Noor's kingdom, but his words fell on deaf ears. Blinded by ambition and greed, the king gave the order to commence the invasion. As Noor surveyed the horizon, he spotted the advancing army of the rival kingdom, a force of 10,000 soldiers armed with superweapons clearly intent on overthrowing the kingdom. The rival king ordered his troops to fire their devastating weapon at the city. Without hesitation, Noor sprang into action. Using his sword, he deflected the weapon's blast, preventing it from reaching the city. Realizing the gravity of the situation, Lin used her magic to hurl Noor directly into the heart of the enemy forces. Hurtling through the air, Noor crashed into the army, his sword flashing with incredible speed as he began to battle the soldiers. His ability to parry and counterattack was unmatched, and as he raised his sword and shield high, he effortlessly cut through the enemy ranks. His unparalleled skill with a blade made him nearly invincible. Soon, Noor found himself himself face to face with the rival king who had ordered the attack. The king, even with his powerful superweapon, couldn't comprehend how Noor had reached him so quickly. In a panic, he tried to fight Noor, but Noor didn't even consider him a serious threat. As they clashed, the king noticed that Noor's sword was crafted from a rare and mighty material, the same that once belonged to a king of another kingdom. Realizing his inevitable defeat and terrified of Noor's mysterious power, the rival king fled the battlefield, abandoning his army in disarray. Understanding that the battle was won, Noor destroyed the enemy's superweapon, ensuring the complete defeat of their forces. Noor, feeling his strength fading and realizing he had reached his limit, stood exhausted in the aftermath of the battle. But just when it seemed he could no longer fight, the elite warriors of the 6th Battalion arrived to his aid. These were Noor's former mentors, the ones who had trained him long ago. Each one of them showcased their unique and formidable combat skills, swiftly turning the tide against the enemy forces. With their precise teamwork and unmatched abilities, they dismantled the opposing army, compensating for Noor's weakened state. Lin rushed to Noor's side, immediately beginning to heal him and restore his strength. Despite his fatigue, Noor, ever selfless, asked Lin to heal the dragon instead. His reasoning was clear. The dragon needed to recover in order to pursue the fleeing enemy king, who had abandoned his army. Lin and the other healers tended to the dragon's wounds, and soon enough, the creature, filled with a burning desire for vengeance, prepared to take flight and chase down the runaway king. As the dragon rose into the sky, the allies gathered around strategizing their next move. They knew the battle wasn't over yet, and they planned a coordinated strike against the king and his remaining forces. Approached Noor. He reminded him of his duty to his comrades and urged him to continue protecting those around him, understanding that the war was far from won. Meanwhile, Noor's former mentors reflected on his journey. They realized they had made grave mistakes in underestimating him during his early days as a warrior. Each mentor, filled with regret, admitted they had failed to see Noor's potential and had missed the opportunity to properly guide him when they had the chance. Now, they could only watch as their former student had surpassed them all, though they remained determined to stand by his side in the coming battles. At the same time, scouts reported spotting the fleeing enemy king on a bridge, desperately trying to reach the gates of his castle. Panic-stricken, he was just within reach of safety. Inez, ever strategic, approached the commanders of their forces and suggested a bold plan. She asked for permission to destroy the castle's walls and gates, preventing the enemy troops from retreating and ensuring that they could capture the enemy king and his forces once and for all, sealing their complete victory. The enemy king finally reached his castle, where he saw the approaching calamity dragon and fell into panic. In desperation, he ordered the secret weapon to be prepared for defense, despite the objections of his advisors. They still decided to use the device, firing it directly at the city. However, the shot was easily deflected by Noor. The powerful blow, blocked by Noor, destroyed the remaining defensive weapons of the castle. The king's subordinates, realizing that their plans had failed, began to flee in panic. After deflecting the attack, Noor lost consciousness and fell from the dragon, having exhausted all his strength. At that moment, the king's son realized that the only way to save his country was to eliminate his own father. He decided to kill the king to stop further destruction. Noor, still striving to prevent violence, tried to protect the king, but due to his exhaustion, he underestimated the situation and failed to stop the son. All the participants of the battle gathered at the king's throne for final negotiations. Klaus, filled with rage and a desire for vengeance, accuses the king of causing the deaths of 127 innocent people, and demands that the king experience the same suffering as his victims. After some time, Klaus announces that the negotiations have concluded and that the war is officially over. With peace established between the nations, everyone returned to their homeland. The king thanked Noor for his help and offered him any favor as a token of his gratitude. Noor asked for nothing for himself, but instead requested help for Rollo, the boy who had been saved and had assisted them in the battle. The king gladly agreed. Rollo finally found himself in a warm bed, and for the first time in his life was served a proper meal for dinner. Realizing that he was now safe and would no longer suffer abuse, the boy began to cry, feeling relief and immense gratitude for his rescue. As people began returning to the city, Noor noticed the sign of the Adventurers Guild, which triggered memories of his past. Moments surfaced of when he was young and dreamed of learning everything that different academies and teachers could offer. The small boy, full of determination, would go to each teacher, asking for training, but most instructors eventually lost faith in his potential. His first mentor saw how desperately Noor was trying to learn, but the only thing the boy managed to master was parrying blows. The teacher couldn't understand why Noor had only learned this one skill, and concluded that Noor wouldn't be able to handle anything more advanced. With a heavy heart, the mentor sent him to another academy that trained warriors. There, Noor showed incredible resilience, and his determination to avoid defeat surprised the instructor. Yet again, the teacher decided that Noor wasn't suitable for training and sent him to another school. Noor then tried his luck at an archery academy, where they asked him to throw a stone at a stick. Noor hit the target but accidentally destroyed the instructor's best bow. Though impressed by Noor's persistence, the mentor also sent him elsewhere, believing they couldn't teach him. Next, Noor went to a thieves' guild, where he had to sneak through traps in a dungeon. However, he misunderstood the task, failed it, and was sent to another place, this time to a magic academy. But magic didn't come to Noor either. On one occasion, he entered the academy but couldn't even find his way out due to a lack of understanding of magic's basics. Nevertheless, Noor persevered. One day, he surprised a wizard when he managed to use several spells with both hands simultaneously, without relying on rituals. Even the wizard was shocked by his skill, but once again, Noor was sent on to a priest academy. There, they told him he wasn't fit for that profession, but the boy decided to stand outside the academy until they accepted him. Finally, one instructor took pity and decided to teach Noor at least the basics. The mentor noted that while Noor's magic was weak, he could use it without the ritual of the Holy Spirit, which impressed the teacher. Gradually, all the teachers started discussing Noor, realizing they had an extraordinary talent before them. In the end, they decided to teach him together, combining their efforts. Returning to the present, Noor helps rebuild the Adventurers Guild after the recent destruction. The guild leader asks him to assist in clearing the rubble. Meanwhile, the king discusses with Klaus the looming threat posed by another nation that had stayed in the shadows during the war, recognizing Noor as their hope for the future. Noor notices Lin, who is helping the wounded, distributing food and offering support to everyone. She hands Noor some food, and despite all his achievements, Noor still dreams of becoming an adventurer. When he sees that a tower is collapsing and threatening the life of one of the people below, he immediately rushes in, saving the young man from the falling debris.